Thank you for coming and thank you for being with us. My name is Father Wells Shimi, and I'm the head of the Department of Social Communication in the Namibian Catholic Bishop Conference, working together with Sister Scholastic House behind the scene. I just want to ask you very few questions because the people want to know also how does one become, for instance, a nuncio procedurally?
Sure. Well, it's not so complicated, and yet it is in some ways. First of all, a nuncio is always an archbishop, so he's always chosen by the Pope. It is a personal choice of the Pope, just as all bishops, just as our own bishop here, Archbishop Nashenda, was chosen by the Pope, so nuncios are chosen by the Pope. Now, from where does he choose these men? There are two sources. The main source, he chooses them from the diplomatic corps of the Holy See. And these are men who have usually spent at least 15 to 20 years, usually around 20 years, serving in different missions throughout the world, different nunciators, or serving in Rome for the Curia. And from that group, he decides, together with his advisors, that now it's time for this man to become a nuncio, and I think he would be my ambassador, a good ambassador to have in this place, given his particular skill set. Now, at times the Pope, for particular reasons, may say, I would prefer in this case to have maybe a missionary priest, or I would prefer to have a priest who's worked in this particular work for a while, because I think that the skill set that's called for here is different. Two examples, for instance, would be Archbishop Bloom, who is the nuncio in Uganda. He had worked as a missionary for many years and as a specialist, especially in immigration issues. And so he first went to become the Apostolic Nuncio and he started in Benin, and then went to Uganda. And then we also have, for instance, a nuncio, another American nuncio, Archbishop Charlie Brown, who had worked at the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. And Pope Benedict decided to put him in Ireland when there were all of the problems with Ireland regarding the abuse situation, because he had a very good training in how to deal with these situations already. So this is an example of the areas where the Pope might pull our diplomats from.
I see. When you were appointed to be the Apostle Nuncio to Southern Africa, what was your reaction?
Very positive. I was very, very happy. Thrilled in many ways. I had worked in Rome for many years. I've been there for 14 years. Okay. It's an extremely important ministry there because you're helping the Pope behind the scenes, but you're doing what I call an indirect type of ministry. I always like to, when I speak of priests and religious, we don't have jobs, we have ministries. So I didn't have a job, I had a ministry. And my ministry was indirect because I didn't actually have direct contact that much with people. I was helping the Pope in his universal ministry as pastor. I was very thrilled to be able to come here because I knew I would have the opportunity to be involved again in direct ministry, to be with people, to listen to their challenges, their sufferings, their joys, to share that, and to be able to offer not only the Pope's voice, his consolation, but as all priests do, to offer the consolation of Jesus Christ. And so, for me, it was a thrill. And I was very particularly thrilled to come down in this region. I had followed Africa as the desk officer for many years in the Secretary of State. So I knew already quite a bit about this jurisdiction here.
So have you been already in Africa ever since?
Oh, I had been in Africa, yes. I had not been, no, in this part of Africa. I have been, I was first of all in Nigeria. I was assigned there, and I was there for over 3 years. I also spent about 2 months in Egypt. I had also been with Pope Benedict to Angola and also to Cameroon. And then when I was in Nigeria, I had traveled to other places within Africa. And I had been, as a young priest, I'd been to Zimbabwe many years ago.
What is your top priorities as you are commencing your apostolate as Apostle Nuncio and also an ambassador to these 5 countries?
My very first priority is, I think should be, and I think this is true for anyone who's starting a new ministry, is to listen. I will first of all want to listen. I want to listen to what the bishops have to say. I want to listen to what the faithful have to say. I want to listen to the priests, all of the collaborators of the bishops, the priests and the religious, and find out through them what the situation is. Because I think it's very important for you to spend a goodly amount of time listening to people before you decide what solutions we need.
Exactly.
So I'm in the listening phase now.
Exactly.
I've been here for 3 months in this area, and I've been listening a lot. There are challenges here. There's great goodness, so there's lots of hope. And I think there are people who are very capable of addressing the challenges that we're facing right now. They just sometimes need the resources to help them address them. But they're very, very capable of doing so.
You are not only the Apostolic Nuncio, but also the ambassadors.
Yes.
How is your involvement in the governments? I mean, your direct involvement in the governments, for instance.
I'm a full ambassador, extraordinary and plenipotentiary of the Pope, clear. However, our diplomatic service is very different in its scope and its goal. Most diplomatic services and most ambassadors and diplomats bring the concerns and interests of their countries and try to find ways of convincing the receiving government that it's important to do these things. We do that to a certain degree, but much less. Our most important function is that I am here for the people of this country, for all of them, Catholics and non-Catholics. I want to hear, as I've said before, I want to hear their challenges. I want to hear their sufferings. I want to hear the joys. But I want to take them back as the interlocutor. I want to take them back to the Holy Father. So he knows what's going on here. Not only for his prayers, but also if we need to act, if he needs to use his very loud voice to help those sometimes who don't have a very loud voice. I like to say that a Vatican ambassador can in many ways be a voice for the voiceless. That's our job. And that's what we bring that's different. We therefore diplomatically, we'll be working with the governments on areas that are of interest to us. For the poor, for the marginalized, for the outcast, for the immigrant, worried about prisoners. We're also worried about some very particular things that I think Pope Francis has mentioned as of late. Laudato Si, his famous encyclical on the environment, is extremely important right now. I mean, you see every day here how important it is when you see the drought that's going on. And this is a place, it's a small country where people are already challenged, and now they have this other challenge which is brought about because of an environmental disaster. And so these are things that we need to partner with as much as we can with government, not only to raise consciousness of our Catholics, but of all people, of the importance of trying to find solutions to help us exit these disastrous problems which are especially affecting the poorest of the poor. Another thing is, for instance, even regarding marriage. We just had the post-synodal apostolic exhortation of our Holy Father. The breakdown of the family in the entire world is maybe the greatest crisis I think we're facing today. The Church, in particular, as all of society, must be very concerned about the breakdown of the family. This document concentrates on that. Governments must be concerned about the breakdown of the family. So churches and other organizations need to do what we can to help civil society to make sure that families are strong, that families can support themselves, but that also that the relationships, especially of husband and wife within a family, are lasting. So we need to do what we can to help form young people so that they can enter into lasting relationships, and to also help people when they're married, when they start having problems, to make sure that those marriages can survive.
What's your message to the Namibian nation, to the Namibian people, to the Namibian church?
The message, first of all, is from Pope Francis. Before I left Rome, Pope Francis wanted me to express how much he loves the African people, in particular the people of Southern Africa. He says that he asked that they pray for him, as he asked all the time, and he also promises that he will pray for them, and he sends his blessing. I would second that. I ask that the people of Namibia pray for me, and to be assured that as the nuncio, I will pray for them and pray for their bishops, their priests, their religious, those who are doing incredible work here to bring God's love and His comfort into their lives. I've only been here a few days, but one of the things that I have said together with my associate, Mr. Young, is the warmth with which we were received by the Namibian people. It's extraordinary, really. We have been treated as if we're part of a family. And that's the beauty of Catholicism. It doesn't matter where we are, we're always part of a family.